Hello, everybody. It's Tim again. Just got done watching Emancipation with Will Smith. Now, this is a new film directed by Anton Fuqua. Now, he's directed a lot of stuff. I think he may have even done the original version of Bad Lieutenant, which was remade as a Nicolas Cage film. Now, just to jump into this film, I was curious about how people felt about it online. And most of the reviews are pretty mixed to negative, actually, for this movie. Um, like, the acting is praised, but the movie wise, it's pretty mixed to negative. I was surprised. And if you go on IMDb, it just has like a 6, which by IMDb logic just means most people just thought it was okay. And if you look at the reviews, a majority of them are low to negative. Like, there's a lot of negative reviews for this flick. I will say this, I know this is based off like a real person or whatever who was like a real slave who's famous for having that picture taken of his torn up back and all that. Um, and that's very interesting. I don't know very much about the actual real guy or the real story or anything about that. So even though this film is based off a true story, I didn't bother like looking up any of the real facts or anything. So I'll just judge this movie as a movie. Like, I'm just looking at this as a film. And as like kind of like an action film about slavery. I thought this was a 4 out of 4 masterpiece, like amazing flick. It's not perfect. There's problems. Like, there's scenes where Will Smith is like running through the swamp or whatever, and he ends up getting in a fight with an alligator. It just feels like out of nowhere, just thrown in to be like a Hollywood action scene. That didn't need to be there. And the ending does go on a little bit too long because by the time Will Smith gets like Baton Rouge or whatever, where he's going to meet up with Lincoln's men, and he has to like join the military there, and he goes on like a crusade to help free the rest of the slaves. That felt kind of like added on. You didn't really need that, but at the same time, though, when he's reunited with his family at the end, it's pretty emotional. Yes, this movie hits some a lot of the like same or similar like slave movie beats or whatever that other movies about slavery have done, like 12 Years a Slave and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, if you do these types of movies, there's only so many ways you can do them, really. And if you're going to focus on this subject matter, then really to me it's about how you execute it. And once again, I'm just looking at this as a movie. I'm not looking at this as like an actual true story because I know movies change things deliberately, and that probably is why the score is low, because a lot of people are like comparing this to the real life incident of the real guy and all that in his history and saying, well, it's too Hollywoodized in places like this and all that. But for me, I didn't do that. I just look at this as a movie. Even though it's based on a true story, I'm just seeing this as a movie. So for me, this is just an awesome 4 out of 4 action slavery flick about a dude on the run, played by Will Smith. I think this is easily Will Smith's best acting performance ever. Like, in terms of Will Smith, I like Will Smith mostly for his charisma in movies like Suicide Squad, Independence Day, Men in Black 1, Men in Black 3. Like, even movies like Suicide Squad that are messy, I can still enjoy them just for Will Smith's performance because he's fun in them. Um, but acting wise, though, pure acting, this is the best I've ever seen him, in my opinion. Ben Foster is here as like the go-to bad guy racist. Pretty much reminds me of his character from like 310 Yuma. You know, for one-legged rancher, he sure was a tough son of a bitch in that Christian Bale movie. That was a great movie too. But yeah, I'm just looking at this as a film, like purely as a movie. And as a movie, I thought this was awesome. I think Smith deserves an Oscar nomination. Not an Oscar win, I don't think. I don't think his performance is quite to that level because there's just not enough for the character to like ultimately chew on here because he is just kind of a runaway slave for the most part, just in an action movie setting. But I do think he deserves a nomination. But I don't know. That's probably not going to happen though with the whole Will Smith slap incident. But yeah, the setup is basically what you would think. They figure out that Lincoln freed the slaves or whatever, but the people in the South don't want to like let them go, so they pull and escape Will Smith and a couple other slaves, and they're running through the swamp and all that. And it's about them trying to survive and get away from Ben Foster. I'll say this: Ben Foster's like the main villain for the majority of the movie, and by the time they get to the end, it's just like him and Will Smith left, and Ben Foster gives him a speech like, "I told you, I'm your god," and then he's like getting ready to shoot him in the head, and then Will Smith gets saved by a group of other soldiers or whatever, black soldiers, which is pretty cool and kind of poetic that the other black people like gun him down, the ones who are fighting with Lincoln, fighting for Lincoln and all that. But at the same time, though, I would really like Will Smith to like take him down in a fist fight or something. Like maybe show Ben Foster has I don't know, maybe because he's supposed to be like a hunter or something. I expect him to like maybe put down his gun and be like, "That's what you got, boy," or something like that, you know. And maybe it was like a fist fight ending or something other. Because, like I said, I'm judging this as a movie, not as more of like a real life incident. Because at the same time, maybe that would be too unrealistic for like the supposed true story that this is based off of. Which, like I said, I don't know anything about the true story that this is supposedly based off of, besides the fact that this guy got a picture of his back taken and all that, and that's what showed the dehumanization of slaves and all that, or helped show other people how it was and everything. And it's become like a very popular pick or whatever to represent slavery, which is really cool. Um, that message got out that way, you know, from a fellow slave, that he was able to communicate that to people and all that. That's cool. And of course, slavery is awful, obviously. And movies like this, they do help show that, and that is appreciative on a lot of levels. But as for the movie itself, I thought this was an awesome, fun action flick. It's not perfect, like I said. The ending goes on too long. I would have liked to have seen Will Smith take out Ben Foster's character. I think I would have liked to have seen that. And it doesn't really bring anything new to the table, but for what it does do, I think it executes it extremely well. So yeah, overall, as a movie, just as a movie, 4 out of 4, awesome, fun action slavery flick. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought Will Smith was great. Ben Foster was great. There's this black guy who's like working with Ben Foster though, who's supposed I guess he's supposed to be like one of those slaves who's like turned on his own people, like a black slaver. They mentioned like Samuel Jackson or whatever in or they mentioned about Jamie Foxx's character that he's posing as in Django Unchained. I enjoyed this movie actually more than Django Unchained as a movie about slavery or whatever I did because it feels more authentic. Django Unchained is really like a spaghetti western with just slavery as the backdrop. As a movie though, Django Unchained is better than this, but as a movie about slavery, I do think this movie is better than Django Unchained because that movie is more of an exploitation western. If you get what I'm saying. But yeah, overall, I'll give this a 4 out of 4. But once again, I'm going to repeat myself. Only as a movie do I give this a 4 out of 4. As like a real life document or whatever, or based off the real life incident, it probably wouldn't be that great if I actually knew the history and all that. It'd probably be more of just an okay movie. But once again, when the movies are based on true stories or whatever, I never take them as like fact. I just judge them as movies or whatever, unless I already truly know the story going in. But being that I don't know much about this and didn't research it beforehand, I'm just looking at this as a movie. And as a movie, I think it's great or an awesome action slavery flick. Maybe my mind will change on this film as I research the story eventually and learn more about the actual guy and all that. I don't know. But just looking at it as a film, I really enjoyed it. And as for the color, I've heard people on IMDb are like complaining about the color pattern and all this. It's like black and white with some little bit of muted colors here and there. But I like the way it looked. You didn't need to be that way. It could have just been regular color. It could have. But for what the director was going for, it adds like a graphic novel approach to it, like comics and all that. And I thought it looked pretty cool. Yeah, overall, 4 out of 4. I really enjoyed it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.